Connectors, what's up? DK here. Hope you're having a good day. I was going to do a different video for this, but I feel obligated. I feel morally obligated to say something to our president and to our country. The events that occurred in Charlottesville, Virginia over the weekend were absolutely horrible, and the videos that came out by themselves were devastating. But even though the videos are very difficult to look at, and it is terrible to see men and women who are injured and hurt, and of course a woman died during this, there's something else that was equally horrible, and that is this idea of the moral equivalency that was placed on the two groups that were there, the protesters and the counter-protesters. And that moral equivalency was brought together by our president. Mr. President, I'm one of the people of America who did not vote for you, but I'm also one who believes in the office of president, and I have been calling you our president up until this weekend, and I don't think I can do that anymore. Mr. President, part of your job is to be a moral leader for us and to the world, but first and foremost to America. And what you did with the response, the second response, and then this week's response at your press conference at Trump Tower, you spoke to nothing that resembles what America is. The words that you used, the actions that you did, the inaction that you took, all of these things lead me to really start wondering if giving you any benefit of the doubt is no longer. We just can't. We can't. Mr. President, as I said before, I did not vote for you. I did not think you were qualified. I personally, if I'm very honest, didn't think that this was even a real thing for you. I thought this was a publicity sham kind of thing. But there you are. And from the moment you have taken office, literally your inaugural speech, you have said what can only be described as dog whistle phrase, dog whistle comments, and things to really prop up the alt-right and organizations that truly don't speak to the values of most Americans. You can hide this in populism. You can hide this in the working man, and that you are speaking on behalf of the voiceless. And there might be a sliver of truth from that, and there might be men and women out there who voted for you because of that. But this weekend changed everything. Not only did I not vote for you, but I also have to tell you that I am a Catholic. And you just connected an organization, an absolute hate organization, with a group that hates most Americans and spent millions and millions of man hours and millions of men fighting people of different races, ethnicities, religions. And you put them in the same box as people who came out to counter-protest and say, equality is what makes us great. You equated those two. You said there were many sides. As former Vice President Joe Biden said, probably the most eloquent thing of the weekend, there is only one side. And that side, Mr. President, is not where you're at. I lived in Washington, D.C. for 15 years, and I was there during a very interesting moment in, I think, history where after President Clinton came into his second term, I was moving into Washington, 1996. And from there till 5 years ago, when I left Washington to move here to South Central Pennsylvania, I thought the tone and tenor of Washington changed dramatically. And I thought to myself, well, maybe this is just what it is. It's a transient town with the political cycles the way that they go, with our country's development as it keeps moving forward. This is a natural thing. And even though I saw an amazing amount of transformation in 15 years that I lived in Washington, something began to change very, very differently. Members of each party weren't getting together as much as they did off time, off the record, in bars and clubs, in restaurants, and just off-site of the political nuance. And it was there over drinks. It was there at bars. It was there in restaurants that members of opposing parties and their staffs would sit and say, yeah, you know I have to say this on TV, and you know I have to fight you politically. But we're also statesmen and stateswomen here, and we need to figure out solutions. So let's get down to work and figure it out. Today, the polarization is wider than it's ever been. And it's hard to see, and it's hard to truly appreciate the cavernous gap between our two sides. And there's a fight for the middle, and yet no one is standing in the middle saying, I'll fight for you. Mr. President, Even though I didn't vote for you, I didn't think this was real. I didn't think you were serious. I thought there was a sliver of hope, though, with you. And here's the only thing I could believe in. You're not a Republican. And as much as you say you are, you're truly not. I know Republicans. I have Republicans in my family. And you do not speak to the value of what was considered a traditional Republican for many, many years. You're also not a Democrat. You are, for you, you are someone who takes anything that could be to your advantage and uses it. And you are, as you said, you are a major donor to both parties. You gave thousands and thousands, millions and millions of dollars practically. And whatever worked for you, wherever way that the wind blew, that benefited Trump, that's where you were. That's you. I don't say that as a judgment thing. I say that as a factual thing. And I truly wanted to think that you would take that idea and move it to the White House. And you would truly be an independent thinker, a person who could say, I don't care what party this idea came from, it's smart business, and do it. Instead of being Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal, you just go with smart dumb. Well, you went with dumb, all right. But unfortunately, it wasn't what I thought it would be. You, Mr. President, are not ready for this. Put all that aside for a second. Put all of it. Put all of the bluster, the nuance, the unqualified conversations, the speeches that kind of rambled and made no sense. Put all of that aside for a second, and let's only talk about this weekend. Mr. President, you're an embarrassment to our country. You're an embarrassment to the community at large. You're embarrassing to the office. And your insensitivity and your lack of moral certitude is causing us some real internal damage now. Racial tension is a thing. Racism is a thing. It is a thing we're going to carry with us. It is in our DNA and it's in our history. And we have to find ways to talk more about it, reach people, get head on with it. You're not helping with this at all, Mr. President. And that's your job. The next few days are going to be pivotal. The next few days are going to be super important for those people in power and those of us who elected you, all of you, into power. What you do and what you say in the next coming days hopefully will set the tone to what we, the people, decide of what our government is to be moving forward. Mr. President, you had your opportunity, and I can only speak for myself, so I'll say it this way. I grudgingly wanted to give you some kind of opportunity to be the president that we needed. You are not, and you should not be president now. Thanks for listening, everybody. Keep on connecting.